Hey, I'm Jake, and today I'm inking this Skyheart page, and I'm talking about how you don't just need a project, you need a product. Alright, hey, this topic today I feel strongly about, and I really want to dive in deep on it, but I want to tell you first about a conversation I had a couple weeks ago with another illustrator friend of mine, a really good friend, Jed Henry, and he is prolific and he's talented. I've got a link to his website below, so check that out when you get a minute. But Jed and I were talking about this topic that I'm talking about today, and that is projects and why you need a project. And I was telling him how I think the number one thing holding back an amateur artist from turning into becoming a professional artist, and even professional artists becoming, breaking out of the mold and trying something new, is that they're not either doing projects or taking projects seriously. And I was just telling him, like, there's certain things you got to do with the project. You got to look at it this way. And he summed it up in 7 words. He said, "You don't need a project, you need a product." And I was like, That's it. That's exactly it. You need a product. And so that's what I want to talk about today, and how if you want to level up as an artist, how do you take on a project? How do you do a project? What exactly is a project? I've got ideas today about, I want to talk to you about of what kind of projects you can take on that can level you up. And then how do you actually execute? You've got your idea, you've got your project that you're doing. How do you execute it, and how do you create that final product, something you can hold and something you can show to someone or sell or whatever it is? So that's what we're going to get into. That's what I want to unpack today. And so here we go. Okay, and what I mean about taking on a project, I don't mean doing a freelance job, or I don't mean working on something for someone else. I mean doing a personal project. I think it's through your personal projects where you grow as an artist. You're able to showcase your individual, like, uniqueness, your flavor, and show other people what sets you apart and what makes you different. So when I talk about projects in this, I'm meaning these personal projects that you take on yourself, where I think you grow the most as an artist, and as an individual outside of an artist, just being able to accomplish something. I think it makes you better. So I think if you really want to level up and separate yourself from the noise that's out there, from everybody else saying, "Hey, look at me," you have to take on a personal project. If you're not getting better, and if you find yourself on a plateau, I really think this one thing will bust you through that wall, and it is taking on that project. So what exactly is a project? I looked it up. It's defined as a carefully planned and designed enterprise to achieve a specific aim. Okay, carefully planned and designed. So I'm going to get into that a little bit more. How do you carefully plan? How do you carefully design this thing? But also the key thing is to achieve a specific aim. If you don't have a specific goal set, then it doesn't matter what you're working on if you're not working towards anything. Okay, so I think a project is something self-contained. You can look at it, you can point at it and say, this is a thing that I made. You can link to it on a website. And it's something that people can either tangibly hold or tangibly look at, or visibly look at, and say, "Oh, look at this thing that this person made," or "Look at this thing this person did." In order for it to be self-contained, it has to have parameters, it has to have limitations, and it has to have an endpoint. And that's, I think, the key thing there is you have to you have to look at what's that final product. What's that final thing that you're going to make? And you have to look at it as, I'm working on this thing to make this final project, not I'm working on this to make this final product, not I'm just working on a project. Okay, it's not a task needed to be done by a deadline. It's an actual finished thing that has to be made and finished. Okay, so why are projects with that end point, with that end product at the end, important? Number one, they give you purpose. All right. They give you a reason to what you're waking up and doing in the morning, or they give you a reason to why you're going down into your studio at night. It gives you a reason why you're set at dinner table after the kids have gone to bed. It gives you that purpose. Okay, it's not just, oh, that's your playtime. This is your time to unwind. No, this is your time to go and make that thing that you're striving to make. Okay. Number two, projects with that end product in mind train you to organize and to prioritize. You realize, oh, if this thing is not going to get finished if I don't eliminate this certain thing in my life, or if I don't do these certain things in a specific order. Okay. Number three, and to that, they train you to actually finish something, and that's what this world desperately needs, is people who finish things, not people who are always working on something, trying to perfect it, never finishing it. And if you think about, who are you the biggest fan of, who are you the biggest admirer of, whether it's in a pop culture sense or it's in a sense of I love this brand or I love this product, it's all because these people or these teams have finished a thing and put it out there. You're not a fan of very many people or ideas or things that are still in the ether, that are being thought of, that are being created. You're usually a fan of a thing that's finished and out there. Okay, so you need to train yourself to be able to finish a thing, and you're going to do that by actually making, turning your project into a product-based project. Okay. Another side benefit, and why these things are so important, is they build true self-esteem. All right, not fake self-esteem. This is true self-esteem, because you could say you accomplished that thing, and you could say, look at this thing that I put all this time and energy and myself into, and I made it. Even if the thing isn't perfect or beautiful or whatever, still the fact that you finished the thing, that builds self-esteem. Okay. Also, they define you. Okay. You're the girl who does the X thing, right? You're the girl who created that. You're the guy who made this book. Okay, so they define you as not just, oh, that's Susan over there, or that's Eric. They define you as, oh, that's the person who made that thing, and so that can be bad, I guess. But I think that's a good thing, because it attaches finished projects and finished quality things to you as a creator. Okay. Another important thing is they are your personal benchmark. Okay, you're only as good as your last project. So I know that there's things that I've finished, and I'm proud of them at the time, and then I get better and better, and I look at that thing as like, oh, that really doesn't reflect how good I am now. But because I haven't finished anything new yet, people are still basing me off of this last thing that I did. So it's a way for you personally to look at it and like, okay, at this point in time, this is how good I was, and this is how I need to improve or get better. But it's also a way for other people to benchmark you and say, okay, this is how good this person is at doing this one thing. So if you don't have a finished thing out there, then there's no way to define how good you are at that specific thing, and no way for you to actually definitively say, I am good at this particular thing. But when you have something sitting there that you can hold and flip through or look at, it's a way to definitively say, like, yes, that's where I'm at, or that's where I was at. Okay. And also, 10, 15 projects down the line, it's great to look at, 10 years ago I was this good at this, because I have this thing here that I can look at, and this proves, exactly where I was at that time, and you could see how you progressed. Okay. Projects also open you up to other opportunities as well. You never know what is out there unless you're actually aggressively working on something and talking to other people and sharing this thing with other people, and this finished product can sometimes be seen by just the right person, and that person will say, oh, I really love what you did here. You'd be perfect for this other thing. And it might be the thing you've always wanted to do, or it might be something you never knew you wanted to do, but now you're opened up to that possibility because of the thing that you created. And lastly, they make room for other ideas, other projects, and other endeavors to happen. Okay, so once you've got that thing out of your system, now it's time to move on your next thing. And you may have a backlog of ideas that you want to get to someday, but you're never going to get to them if you don't finish something and get it out of the way first. Okay, so finishing a project, putting something out there allows you to be done with it so you can move on to your next thing. So that's why projects are so important. They give you purpose, they train you to organize and to finish things, they build your self-esteem, they define you, and they set a benchmark for you, and they open you up to other opportunities. And lastly, they allow you to be able to work on other things, to move on to the next thing. Okay, so what are the key elements of a perfect project? You look at certain projects that are finished, and they all have these particular parameters or these particular elements. And for me personally, here's what I think. These could be different for everyone, but this might be like a guiding light for you if you need it. Number one, it should take longer than a month, but less than a year to complete. Unless you're super ambitious, you could say, okay, I can finish this thing in 3 years or 5 years. But let's be honest, if it's going to take you longer than a year to do, that is some serious commitment. And let's do baby steps. So let's set this up between month and a year, and really that's the time frame I think you should be working with. A month is long enough to put 30 days into something if you're working on it every day, and to really, I think, really accomplish a thing and to make something, even if it's not huge, just something small. A year, you can actually accomplish a lot in a year. So look at the time that you have in front of you and see what you're able to commit to it. And it may be that you have a month's time to put into it, but you're spreading it out over the year. Or maybe you have a full year to work on it every day. But I think those are the time constraints you want to give yourself. Otherwise, it can go long and you could forget the real reason you're doing it, and you could become disinterested. You could get discouraged that it's taking so long. I think if you say, I'm going to do this in a week, that's not enough time to finish something solid. It may be time to finish a single piece, but not a finished product. Okay, so that's one. Second thing, it should have strict restraints on time. We talked about time, but also budget, style, medium, subject matter. Those specific things, I think you need to set some limits on it, set some restraints on there. So say, okay, and I think most of us don't have infinite budgets, that we can just throw at things like this. So you're going to want to say, figure out, okay, if this is the thing I want to create, this is how much money I plan to put into it, whether it's art supplies or programs that you need, or maybe hired help that you need to hire on temporarily to finish it. Set your parameters for budget. Style-wise, it may be that you could do something very beautiful, very ornate, but that would be your 10-year project. So you might have to dial back on style and say, okay, if this thing's going to be finished, I'm going to have to do a more simplified style and sit down and figure out what is that simplified style. And then medium, sometimes medium is a really good constraint. I would love to make an animated film or to make a video game, but those things require so much more time and energy than, say, making a comic book. A comic book, it just requires my talents and my abilities, and I can have full control over it. Whereas, and I can finish a considerable amount of it in a particular day or in a particular week or month, as opposed to and make an actual solid finished thing, as opposed to spending a year on something like an animated short where I can only get a minute done or 2 minutes done, something like that. So think about what you want to accomplish and the time that you have, and plan your style that you're going to do, or the medium that you're going to do it in, accordingly. Okay? All right. Third, so we talked about time constraint. We talked about other restraints you want to set for yourself. Excuse me. Third, you should be accountable to someone for it. Okay. Now, whether I've talked about accountability before, but I'm meaning you should either be accountable to, if you have a fan base, to your fans, or your friends, or your spouse. You need to tell somebody, here's what I'm going to do, here's when I'm going to do it by. And you can't just be accountable to yourself. And the problem there is we are inherently apologetic to ourselves. And we understand all of our excuses because we were there and we saw the whole thing happen. And it takes a little more to explain to someone else, hey, I didn't finish this by this point because X, Y, and Z. And so I think what it does is being accountable to someone else helps keep you honest and helps keep you motivated. At least that's how it works for me. All right. And lastly, key elements of a perfect project is you should be able to hold the finished project in your hands or in your vision, right? If it's a digital thing, it's something that you can click on and put into a folder, something like that. You can download it. If it's a tangible thing, you should be able to hold it, put it on a shelf. It should be basically a product. You need to have a product at the end of it. Okay? So here are 10 project ideas, 10 things. You know what? I take that back. I thought it was 10. I'm looking at my list now. It's actually 12. I added a couple more. So here's a dozen project ideas for you to think about working on and decide, is this what I want to do? But these are ideas for you to, I think, level yourself up, take you to that next level, rip you off of this plateau and start you climbing on the next, striving for that next peak, climbing that next mountain. Okay, so number one is, and I did a whole video on this one, but that's draw 100 somethings. You could check out that video, draw 100 somethings, but basically it's taking picking one subject matter and doing 100 different versions of it. And I describe it all in that video, so you can go get the specifics there. But that's just a project. To turn it into a product is you take those 100 somethings and you publish them in a book, whether it's self-published or whether it's professional enough that you could take it to a publisher. But I want to see a book at the end of that that says, here are my 100 robot bunnies. And there's a cool artist online, Datotronic, I think his name is. He's doing 100 robot bunnies. Check it out. But that's something I want to see. Is a book of whatever the 100 things you made are. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, take on an art challenge like Inktober or like March of Robots. And what these are is you draw an ink drawing every day for the month of October on Inktober. There's lots of these month-long art challenges where you do a drawing a day or a painting a day or something a day, and take on that challenge. That's a great project to do, but what's the product at the end of it? I've seen a lot of people take their Inktober drawings and publish them in a book and sell them at conventions or sell them online. But I think that's the key there, is taking those drawings and either telling a story with it or turning it into a collection of artwork or having it be a part of a bigger art book. But I think that's the thing you want at the end. On the subject of making books, I love making books. Making books really teaches you to pay attention to details and to make sure that everything, really it takes your art to the next level, because you're looking at how's this art going to actually be displayed on the printed page, and how's it going to be held in someone's. You're thinking about the experience beyond you're actually drawing. What's the experience of the people consuming it? Okay, all right. So what are we talking about? 100 somethings, Inktober, or doing an art challenge, or making a book. Number 3, make a children's book. Okay, write your story. So many people say, I have this idea for a children's book, or I have this character, I want to tell a story with it. Go do it. Go make that children's book. There's plenty of opportunities these days to publish a single copy or 100 copies, or use Kickstarter to see how many fans are out there of your stuff to print books, but actually make a finished children's book. A lot of people say, I want to be a children's book illustrator. I don't know what they're waiting for. You could illustrate your book today. You could illustrate it yesterday and have a finished book in 6 months. And I guarantee if you have a finished book in your hands, either A, you'll realize how hard it is and either decide that it's not for you, or you'll realize how many things you didn't know about illustrating a book that you either learned on this project and you could do better the next time, or if you're really good, you will have a finished book that a publisher will look at and be like, yeah, we really want to publish this, or it's something you could sell yourself. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, make a 50-page comic. And I say 50 pages, you could say 40 pages. Make a 40-page to 120-page comic, something like that. Whatever it is, make a finished comic. And I don't think 20 pages is enough. I think you want to do something substantial. 20 pages is the start of something. 50 pages to 100 pages, that's something substantial and finished. Okay, so if you call yourself a comic artist, or you want to be a comic artist someday and you haven't actually drawn comics yet, or you've drawn a handful of them, sit down and actually make that comic that you've been talking about making. And then again, publish it somehow, whether it's self-publish or submit it to Image Comics or something. But have that finished comic in your hands at the end of the time that you've given yourself to do that. Okay, number 5. Take a public domain novel like Frankenstein or Huckleberry Finn or Wizard of Oz, one of these public domain books, these classics, and illustrate it. Say 24 illustrations. And what you can do is you could take that and you can distribute it online somehow, or you can do a self-published version of it. But that is a really good project, and that's a project that shows that you can take something that's been written and show people your vision for it without having to make a feature-length movie or to make a full comic, but to do 24 illustrations, or an illustration for each chapter, or an illustration for every page. It's a really good way to show people your vision for this particular story that everybody knows and loves. And I think it's a way for people who already love those stories to find you through the channel of that story that they love. There's a guy named Evan, I forget his last name. He does Rice Boy comic, but he did Wizard of Oz. He just decided he was going to illustrate the Wizard of Oz. And so he did it, and the book is beautiful. And for a year, I followed him, creating the illustrations for these, and it was really cool to see his version of the Wizard of Oz. So do something like that. Okay, number 6, redesign a classic board game or a classic card game. And I mean, design the box, design the cards that go into it, design the pieces, and actually make it. You could do a one-off, or you could do something fit for mass distribution, something like that. But that's a good project to really stretch your illustration muscles. If you took Candyland, or a chess set or something like that, or Monopoly, and did your version of it, that would be something really cool to see. And it's something that takes some time and takes some organization. But I think the finished project, at the end of that, the finished product would be something really impressive that would be a nice portfolio piece, and even something that might capture the attention of some of these game developers. One of the other big thing right now is playing cards, and everybody, it seems like there's so many people out there doing their version of a deck of cards, and that's a really good opportunity to design to design something and really show your strengths as an illustrator. All right. Number 8, redesign 50 characters from some sort of ubiquitous intellectual property. Okay, and what I mean by that, take Star Wars, or take Harry Potter, or take I don't know, classic video game, Nintendo games, or something like that, and redesign all the characters. Maybe it's He-Man, okay, maybe it's Pokemon, something like that. Take that and do your version of it, but do like 50 characters, or something really substantial, something that grabs people's attention, and then either do a self-published book, or do some sort of website that showcases them, something like that. I think that would be really cool to like show people, hey, everybody, here is me as an artist, something I love, and this is my version of it. And it's something that's easily shareable. It gives. I talked a little bit about this in the fan art video, but it's something that a friend can say to another friend, hey, I know how you love He-Man. Check out this guy's version of He-Man. All right, so maybe it's like Victorian He-Man. I don't know, something like that. Okay, number 8, I talked about this a little bit already, but make an animated short, a minute-long animation, finished with music, sound, fully colored. It might take you a year, it might take you 6 months, but make a finished animation that you can put on YouTube and have everybody like link it around and click to it. I guarantee if you do that, if you do a cool 1 minute animation or a 2 minute animation, you're going to turn heads and you're going to have people like talking about you if they're not talking about you already. And I'll get into this later, how to execute it, but I'll save it for later. But do the animation, okay? All right, where are we at? Number 9, design and manufacture a toy with the box, like the box thing. Toys are a big like industry on a level where you can buy toys at Target, right? But there's also like this designer toy industry as well, and I always thought this would be a cool artistic challenge to take one of my characters and make a toy out of them. And when you get into that and you figure out like how much, how do you get it modeled, how do you get it sculpted, whether you're a sculptor yourself or you're creating the designs to take to a sculptor, this is an actual project that really will stretch you as an artist, and you'll have something really cool at the end of it. And again, this is something that's going to take a little bit of a budget to create the molds for it and to create enough of them to sell. But if you sat down and said, okay, by this time next year, I want to have this toy sitting on my desk, whether it means you launch a Kickstarter for it or you finance it for yourself, I guarantee that if you do that project, you will level up as an artist. You'll be a better artist, maybe even a better business person or something than you were before you started that thing. Okay, so do a toy. Number 10, set up a table at a Comic-Con. Pick a con in your city or one that's you can travel to easily. Get a table in Artist Alley and prepare for that con 6 months ahead of schedule, or however early you can get that table. Start making prints, start making little books, art books or something, but take the artwork you've already done and put together like a really cool table. And that right there, I've grown so much just by doing conventions. Number one, you learn how to basically be an entrepreneur, right? You learn how to read people and to sell to people. You learn what works and what doesn't, like what people are into and what they're not into. You break out of your shell as a person by having to talk to people. You broaden your fan base because there's people at these cons that have never heard of you or seen you before, and now they're fans of yours because they've seen your work. So do a table at a convention. Okay, number 11, build a portfolio. It's as simple as that. Say you've been trying to get into a studio, or that's your dream to get into a studio, or to get work with a publisher or something. Say 6 months from now, you're going to have enough pieces to have a really well-defined, well-rounded portfolio that defines you as an artist and shows your work. Make a portfolio. I think it can be as simple as that, especially if you're a kid in high school. Usually you're not making portfolios until you get into college, but why not try it in high school? Make a really nice solid portfolio of your work and create work for this portfolio. Don't just do the assignments in class. Do assignments, either shift the assignments so that they can fit into this portfolio that you want to use to get into the animation studio or whatever it is you want to do with it. But give yourself your own assignments, okay? And number 12, last one, build a website. I've seen so many artists out there, really good artists, who don't have a website. They just have a Tumblr or they just have an Instagram. and a website's always been on their to-do list, I say take the next month and make a website, make a well-defined, like really cool-looking website. And there's places like verb.com, which is what I use, Squarespace, Weebly, where it's really easy for artists to make websites. All right. Okay, so those are the 10 project, or I guess 12 project ideas. Now, how do you execute these things? And again, it's a long video today. I like making long videos. I really like unpacking these things and defining these things and getting deep into them. So sit with me, go get a drink or something, and come back and let's finish this thing out. Okay? How do you execute this beast of a project that you're taking on? Okay, there's 10 steps here to executing. Number 1, choose wisely. All right, it all comes down to this initial choice. You've got to be interested and passionate in the thing that you're doing. Okay, it can't be something that you just saw yesterday and you're like, oh, that's really cool, yeah, I'm going to try this. It's got to be something that you're going to be into it for the long haul, whether it's a month or a year or anything in between. So choose wisely this thing that you're going to do. And you also have to think about how it's going to tax you as your time schedule, financially, all those types of things. So take all that into account as you're planning this project out and make the right choice of the thing that you need to do. You also need to look at it too, like, okay, I do want to make this, this graphic novel, but I don't have a website yet. So maybe the website comes first, or maybe you need to make that portfolio first. To land the jobs that you have the financial freedom to work on the animated short you want to do. Who knows? But choose wisely this project. Be strategic with it. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, resource planning. Okay, this goes into choosing wisely, but figure out how much time it'll take. Break down your project step by step. Phase 1, it's going to take this time. I have 3 hours a night to work on it, and I can get this much work done in a night. And this project, to get this phase 1 done, it's going to take 40 hours. So 3 hours a day, 40 into 40. You do the math, you figure that out. I'm not going to do math on the fly. I'm horrible at math, but you can figure that out. Okay. Number 2, how much money will it cost? Art supplies, whether it's if you want to do that toy, or you want to make that board game, excuse me, or you want to do an animation, but you're going to need to hire a background painter or something like that. Figure out how much money that's going to cost you and plan accordingly. Figure out your key tasks. Okay, there's the creation level, like what does it actually take to create it? How much time it's going to do that? What supplies you'll need for that, right? What I talked about, but also how much time it's going to take to, if it is a book that you're making, how much time is it going to take all the illustrations you've done and design it page by page and design it and get it ready for a printer to work with. How long is it going to take you to make that PDF, and how much time is it going to take to go back and forth with the printer, looking at proofs and press checks and stuff like that. Figure out who you need to work with to get this thing done. Okay, so that's resource planning. All right, choose wisely, plan wisely. Okay, number 3, make a schedule. Okay, so set yourself daily milestones and weekly milestones and make yourself a progress chart. All right, so you figure out, okay, I can get this much work done in a day, so that's my goal. Each day I'm going to get X done, and in a week I want to have this done in a week. Okay, and then make your chart that shows week 1 this, week 2 this, week 3 this. And I love checking things off, so put little boxes next to them that you can check out, or you can cross it out with a big fat Sharpie. It feels really good to have one of these things, these sheets, these progress charts finished that are just covered with marks all over them that you just killed it. Okay, so make that schedule and make it work. All right, number 4, announce it. All right, at the beginning of your project, announce it. And this is part of the accountability thing, but say online on your Instagram account, if you've got a YouTube channel, if you've got Twitter, if you've got a blog, if you've got a website, tell everybody, here's what I'm working on. I'll see you in a year, or I'll see you in a month. Okay, If you don't have an online following yet, announce it to your friends. Announce it to your girlfriend. Tell your wife. Tell your husband. Tell your mom. Tell your grandma, right? Announce it to somebody, because that's what keeps you honest, and you're going to get asked about it. People are going to wonder, how's that thing going? And you don't want to be a loser. You don't want to be seen as someone who says they're going to do something and doesn't do it. So announce the thing. All right, number 5, this is how you're going to finish this thing, is you need to be focused on finishing it, not making it perfect. All right, at every step of the way, finished, not perfect. Keep saying that. I want you to write it out. Finished, period, not perfect, period. Write that out, post it big on your wall, and know that, okay, yeah, I could perfect this thing and spend another day on it, but if that's going to throw off your schedule and it's going to make this thing not happen, just worry about finishing it. You can be perfect on the next thing, okay? Just finish this thing, okay? Keep that mindset. Finish, not perfect. And really, with that thing, you might strive and work hard and try to make this thing perfect, but guess what? In a year from now, you're going to get better as an artist, and you're going to look back at this quote-unquote perfect thing that you made and hate it because you see all the flaws in it. So why waste the time making it perfect when you could just do the best that you could do, finish it, move on, and become perfect naturally instead of forcing it? All right. Number 6, share your progress. All right, so you announced it to everybody. Now start sharing your progress along the way. Tell your story. You say, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I'm just a guy who wants to do this, and I've never done it before, so follow me along in this journey, and I'm going to, you're going to watch me make mistakes, you're going to see my successes, document it, share it. People love stories, and they love see people either going through the thing that they're trying to go through, or they just like the storytelling of a person trying to accomplish a thing. So show your work, what you're working on. Show people what your inspirations are. Maybe if there's nothing to show this week, you might be like, well, I don't want to show anything yet, but here's what's inspiring me this week. Just be active in sharing this thing online. That's going to help people, help you build a fan base for this, but also I think help keep you on track and motivated to do it as you get feedback from people. Now, it may be, if you haven't built that online following yet, it may be like you just shouting into the void, like, hey, look what I'm doing, and nobody's listening. If you're making good stuff, eventually people will find you, and they will listen, and they will give you feedback. So share your work. That won't happen if you don't share it. Okay, number 7, stay on target. All right, just like the canal run in Star Wars. Is that what it's called? The canal run? The tunnel run? I forget. Stay on target. Stay on target, okay? Keep a vision of the final product in front of you to remind you of why you started your journey. Just keep thinking, I want to hold this book in my hand. I want to hold this toy in my hand. I want to set it on my shelf, right? Keep a vision of that final thing in your head to motivate you and to remind you of why you started onto it. And keep a vision also of what opportunities this could open you up to as well. I know that's what motivates me a lot, is I think about, okay, if I finish this thing, it will open me up to these other possibilities. All right. Number 8, unlock achievements. All along the way, unlock achievements for yourself, okay? Reward yourself every time you finish something. So you did that first week of working 3 hours every night during the week. Reward yourself. Go to a movie, or I don't know how you reward yourself. Maybe now you allow yourself to play that video game. You've been holding yourself off of video games all week, right? Now it's Sunday. You're going to just chill, and you're going to go out on a date or something. I don't know. Maybe for me, I love Dr. Peppers, and I don't drink them all the time because they're bad for you. And so I reward myself with a Dr. Pepper, at the end of the month, once a month, something like that. Excuse me. Okay, number 9, have fun. All right, that's the key element to this too. If you're hating every minute of it, you're not going to finish it. You're not going to want to do this thing. So if you're not finding enjoyment in it on some level, I think you're doing it wrong, or you picked the wrong thing to work on. Okay, have fun with it. It doesn't have to be a ton of fun, right? There should be some level of enjoyment there, and it doesn't mean that the project's not going to be hard. The project will be hard. Anytime you do anything of worth, it's going to be hard, but that doesn't mean you can't have fun along the way. So figure out how you can have fun with it. Okay, number 10, hit eject. Okay, always leave that option open. People change, plans change, markets change, interests change. Give yourself the option of pivoting and doing something else. I don't want to say that like this is your out, this is your excuse not to finish, but we have to be realistic here. We're humans, and something might happen in your life where you just don't have time to work on it. Don't get frustrated about that. Hit eject and either start the project that you really want to work on, or save this project for another time. Okay, but just know that I don't think that's a failure. It's just being realistic. But leave that option open. All right, so those are the 10 things to execute them. I'll just go through them really quick. Choose wisely, plan your resources, make a schedule, announce it, finish, not perfect, share your progress, stay on target, unlock achievements, have fun, and give yourself the option to hit eject. All right, so that is turning a project into a final product. You guys, I know this is going to help you like level up. I know this is going to make you a better person, a better artist on so many levels. Go take on a project and finish it. Have that final product in the end that you can hold in your hand, or that you could share with someone, or someone can download it, or someone can watch it, or someone can click on it. But make that thing. I promise you, you're going to feel so much better about yourself, and you'll be surprised at the opportunities that this opens up for you. All right, I can't wait to see what you guys do. All right, that's it. I know it was a long video. Thanks for sticking around watching it, and hopefully some of you got something out of this. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to add to this conversation, please share it in the comments. I'd love to read those things. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. 2 things before we go. Number 1, I just posted a new class on svslearn.com. It's how to draw animals, the mammal edition. So if you struggle with how do horses even work, I explain that. I explain an easy way to draw them, how to understand their anatomy. It's not a course for someone who wants to do like accurate Civil War reenactment paintings of cavalry storming in off the hill, but it is for someone who needs to illustrate a dog for something and they're not quite sure how a dog's hind legs work. I explain like basic info on how to design and draw animals that I think is really helpful, and it's the way that I do it. So there's that. Number 2, I have partnered with this really cool company, artsnacks.co. Check out their website. It's this really dynamic brother-sister team, and what they're doing is they're providing a subscription to get an art box once a month. And what these are these little boxes full of art supplies delivered to your door. This is premium art products, and we thought it'd be cool to do an Inktober box for Inktober. So Inktober is still a ways away, but it's never too early to prepare for it. If you want to get in on one of these boxes, head over to inktober.com, where you can sign up for an email alert on when the pre-order goes live to get one of these boxes. And I think they're going to be really cool. We're hand-picking these pens. There's pens that I love, pens that I use for my own Inktober drawings. So go check that out, and that's all. See you guys.